Mr. Neil Carpenter, he built a fishery. What price did he pay for it? Disability. The accident that changed his life, he told it all to me. The good, the bad, the ups, the downs, supportive family. Stocked his carp 1 pound in weight, then eventually 20 pound and 30 pound, now some are 40.
Hello and welcome to the Fishery Fast Lane podcast. We've come this morning down to Somerset, Wanstrow. A few people that have perhaps followers of BP Milling and my channels would have probably heard me speak of Neil Carpenter and his syndicate down here, Carpenters Lake. We've done quite a bit over the years with Neil's fisheries. Probably one of the first customers I ever had. And I came here with Andrew first, I think about 11 years ago. And we just recently, actually, this winter just gone, we came over here to do a population survey or cropping of silverfish from Neil's syndicate here that we do every year. And this time I tried to get a little bit on camera, having a little interview with Neil. And we just scratched the surface of some of the history of Carpenters Lake. And we were rudely interrupted by Andrew when he started to bump into a few fish. Anyone that's seen that video would have seen that we had to cut the interview short because we were starting to bump into fish and we had to get on with the job. So I've come down to Wanstrow this morning to get a little bit more on Carpenters Lake for you lot, so you can get a bit more of a background on what Neil's achieved here and the development of the fishery. So Neil, how would you summarise Carpenters Lake or introduce it to people that don't know it?
Oh, good morning, Ben. Nice to see you again. It's just a piece of paradise, really. You know, there's not many fisheries around here. I think it's a bit special. Like, it's a lake like no other, I personally think. And I try to run it as when I was a carp owner in the 80s, you know, proper old school fishing. You know, there's 8 swims. I allow 3 on at a time. My members can move and do stalking, and it's my baby, it's my dream.
So if we start off with what's present, what you've got here now, and then we'll go back to the start to where we can sort of pan the story out of that. So if we just give everyone a bit of let them know what we've got here at the moment, because when I first came here, I don't think you'd have had 30s, or maybe you might have had one or approaching 30s, and now we've got a stock behind us here that are.
Yeah, we are. I think the biggest fish in the lake was a fish called Joey. That was 29 pound. Lee, my fishery manager, had him at 30, and he's had quite a few 30s out actually. Yeah, the sort of stocking now. We got two fish, 40 pound. We had a surprise come out last week, moon scale at 39 pound, and been out for 22 months. That was 33.5. So that's progressing well. So yeah, we got a good stock here. We've got about 55 fish, but then having said that, we had a visitor last week, a ghostie at around £15.3. Never been on the bank, never seen it in the netting.
Yeah, wow.
It's just incredible.
It's not a big lake, is it? How big is it?
2.5 acres.
2.5 acres.
Average in depth about 5 foot.
Yeah. Yeah, well. See, we started when Carpenters Lake started, it was a grass field, so it's a clay fishery, is that right?
It's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got, there's 2 big islands here and sort of, would you say 3 bodies of water almost? Like
2 separate
channels.
bodies of water, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go back then to where we sort of started with the YouTube video, where we started to talk a little bit about how this came to be and the story that you have. If you were carpenter by name, carpenter by trade.
That's right, yeah. Went on the building industry with my late father, with my brothers in 1979. Worked on the building industry with them till I had my accident. Well, I went self-employed mid-90s with my cousin. And
you were a carp angler back then, weren't you?
I was a carp angler back then, yeah. Bought my first carbon rods 88. I was on a lake and a chap come round to me swim and he was stalking at me and I said, all right. He said, yeah. He said, you got matching rods? I said, yeah. Wow. I was like the talk of the lake because I had a pair of matching rods. He was looking at me monkey climbers just there. Look, that's the original monkey climbers there. Look. And so yeah, I started in the 80s. And then obviously I met Julie in the 80s. Got married, had kids. Obviously, me carp fishing was a bit less then, like you do when people's got family. Then my life turned upside down in 2000. Like I said on the YouTube clip, this boy racer come through the village and just hit me, and didn't know at the time. I broke my neck, pushed the van door open. I just fell out. This half stayed in the van.
Oh, so you're in a vehicle?
I was in the vehicle, yeah.
Okay,
I turned around in the road. He was in the hidden dip, a blind spot in the village. He seen me pull out and thought I was going to go on the walls, nunny catch. And he didn't. He floored it, and I turned and went back in, and he smacked on the other side impact. So this hand got really mangled up. That hand was across there.
Really?
I only just spoke to Julie on the phone, and she said, you forgot your brother's birthday card. I said, well, I'll come round the village. Well, I've lived in the village 6 years. I know how bad that junction is. God knows why I thought, well, I'll just do a UE. There's nothing in the highway codes about me breaking the law there. And bang, that was it. And of course, Julie was waiting at the cottage for me. And then obviously people started going to work in the village and thought, that's Neil's little red rascal van there. So he knew it was me. They knew it was me. So he went back and got Julie. That was it.
Oh, my God.
He left the kids there, 3 kids at home, all under the age of 7. My daughter, my 2 boys.
Did you know the seriousness of it at the time?
No, I did. Well, I was running the London Marathon on Sunday, and the accident was the 3 days before on the Thursday. And I just couldn't believe it. My ear was ripped off down the back. There's blood down there. They all thought it was just my wrist, but...
Oh, my God.
At the end, it takes a very, very brave person to admit to somebody, I can't move my legs.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to admit that. So I thought I'd just be quiet, and they'll take me off to hospital, and well, that's it. Went RUH, went through the tunnel, MRI scan, and broke the 2 vertebrae in my neck. And I thought, and
so you were conscious the whole while?
I wouldn't shut up.
Right. Nothing changes.
No, they were chatting away in the ambulance. We were heading off in the bath, blue lights flashing, and I said, well, you can sort this wrist out and stitch my ear back on, because I'm on a little run round London on Sunday. Oh, little row, yeah, tomorrow. Well, you won't be long about. I thought, long about. There was me, bloody in rehab for 10 months in the spinal unit.
10 months.
Yeah, well, obviously I got fixed the French aid. They fixed me neck. And then I had to wait for a bed to come available at the Salisbury Hospital. So I went there. So the action was April the 13th. Then the following month in May, there's a bed came up at the odd stock spinal unit, and I went over there in May, and that's where I stayed for 10 months. I was part of lead bed. I was lead flat. They didn't mess about in that spinal unit. They lay a flat straight out. I was getting log rolled every 3 hours so I wouldn't get sores and that. And but as the months went by, I started moving a little bit in me toes and that.
So were you hopeful at that point that you were going to get use of your legs back, or did you not know?
No, the top surgeon there, they tell everybody you'll never walk again, right. Even if you got bruising to the spinal cord.
Right.
Because if you've got bruising on the spinal cord, your body goes into shock for several months. I obviously smashed. You got 8 vertebrae in your neck, and I smashed 8 and fractured 7, and I crushed the side of the spinal cord. So the damage was there, and all he said to me was, "Look, you never walk again, but anything that comes back, it's a bonus."
Right.
So even if they've seen MRI scans from other patients, they always know that he'll probably walk out of here, but this bloke won't. But so they always tell everybody they never walk. So right. Yeah, I've got a couple of friends that are still in wheelchairs, so I still see them, I went through rehab. And I got the Spinal Injury Association book was given to me, and there was a solicitor in there, and I went through Moorish Lions. It was Vivian King. Moorish Lions was the solicitor at Vivian King in Bath. They took my case on, and it took about 3 years to get me compensation through.
Right.
And I thought, well, what am I going to do with my life now? The building industry's out of the equation. And I thought, well, I'd love to run my own lake again. And that's how I achieved it with the money, putting something back in what I used to do. I had 3 sports in my life. That was running, obviously Southampton Football Club, and fishing. That's my 3 sports. Well, I still go to Southampton now and again. We don't talk about that now, anyway.
I've been told on the pre-podcast not to talk about Southampton.
Oh, right, yeah, I have to edit that out then. And obviously, the only sport now is me fishing. And as we all know, as all us anglers, it's nothing like being on the bank.
Yeah.
It's so good for mental health.
So how did you come about this bit of land? Did you approach the landowner, or was it on the market?
Well, I was marshalling a bicycle race with a friend in the village, Alan Penny, and I said, I'm after some land. He said, I know where there's some land up by me. I said, oh, really? Well, I thought, well, and he showed me it, and I knew the farmer, so I phoned the farmer up and met him down here and done the deal.
So you were living in the village all the while?
Yeah, we moved in the village in 95, had my accident in 2000.
Okay.
So been in the village like 35 years.
Right.
So yeah, done the deal with the farmer, went for the solicitors, bought the land, and put planning permission in. That sailed through.
Yeah. For the lake.
For the lake, yeah.
And what year are we in now?
When we got the planning application?
Yeah, when you purchased the land.
I purchased the land August 2005.
Right. And your accident was in
2000, yeah. So I went through rehab.
So it took a few years between them.
Yeah. I was in hospital. The whole of 2000 was taken up rehab.
Yeah.
2001, I was sort of beginning to get the grips with my life, what I'm going to do. And
sorry, I didn't know. How old were you then when you had the accident?
37.
37. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm 63 this coming autumn.
Right.
It's life-changing, Ben. It's actually life-changing. You think, how are we going to cope? But
so the dig started in, what year?
2005,
yeah.
August. Took about 7 weeks to dig it out. We only had one slough to start with, stripping all the topsoil off and subsoil. Then we marked it all out. Then we had a second slough come in and started hitting into the clay. I was absolutely buzzing. Every day for me coming down here was like Christmas Day.
I was going to say how it must be difficult to have the emotion of what you've just been through, and the excitement of, it's almost bittersweet that it's just, perhaps it's not the right phrase, but to have such a life-changing event followed by something which is a dream come true, but in the sense that you've had to, the compromise of that is forever in the wheelchair that you're in now. It must be quite an emotional storm.
Yeah, it was. I just, I was just sleeping, eating it all the time. It was on my mind. We had some walkie-talkie because with my disability, I can't run up into the cab of the slough driver and say, look, I want 6 foot there, not 3 foot. So we had walkie-talkies.
Right, yeah.
So I used to, talk through that and give me instructions.
Yeah.
And I think a few times, I think he turned it off.
Right. I can imagine.
But don't know why that is.
So was there a water source that you knew there's potential for a lake here? What made you think?
Going back to when Alan Penny showed me the land, I managed to get permission from the farmer to drive in my car to the field in July, and there's some tractor ruts, and he says always, it's a wet field, it's a wet field. So I seen these tractor ruts, and I thought that's still holding water there. So we gave him permission to get a digger, and we done half a dozen test holes across the field.
Right.
Dug them down. We went down a foot. I thought clay, 2 foot clay, 3 foot blue clay. I thought this is looking promising. So we dug the holes, left them for about a week, come back down a week later, and I've never been so excited all my life. I drove into the field and I looked down in the half, what bloody hell, we got water.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Phoned Julie up, I said, guess what? She said, what, is there water in the hole? I said, yep. I said, that's it, let's sign on the dotted line and do the deal.
Yeah.
because you can buy this food, but you don't know what's done. We're pretty close to one of the biggest quarries in Europe,
Right.
literally like 5 miles away.
Right.
And we do come across, starting digging flint and stone. I thought I'd be typical to buy that land, and I got,
Yeah, what would have happened then if
we have to get the clay in. We'll go somewhere and get the clay from another field, but
right.
I like it.
So it was, you were set on this piece of land because it was so suited to you living in the village.
Well, in the Mendip,
you would have made it work, yeah.
Clay rain here.
Yeah.
So, and it took, we finished it after, we started August, finished about mid-September. A few local friends in the village thought I was crazy. They said, "Where are you going to get your water from?" I said, "Out the sky." Well, where is it? I said, "We're running on the land drains." I was filled up by Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a track that goes up on the railway bridge, and one day we had like 2 inches of rain in my rain gauge. And I said to Julie, "Got to be filled up now." I should drive up on the railway bridge. Bear in mind, it's just a bare field, just a hole in the ground and 2 islands.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was up on the railway bridge. I was looking down. I thought, bloody hell, I can see water. Yeah. I couldn't wait to get my ass through the gate, come around on my quad bike and see the levels.
Yeah,
but we had one problem when it was filling up. One problem. Following week, we had another inch of rain. And I went down the lake and I thought, that level's not coming up. Yeah. I was driving around several times on the quad. So George, who dug the lake out, he left his slough here. He said, "We'll keep the slough here just in case we get problems." So I got him down. He walked round. I was driving round on the quad. He went, "Come over here, turn your quad off." I said, "What?" He said, "Turn it off." So I turned it off. And I went, "What's that bloody noise then?" And that was a land drain. What I didn't seal. And that was coming out of there like a fireman's hose pipe.
It's funny how they find that out.
Well, he did, because you bear in mind, we've graded the slope of the banks. That land drain was about 3 or 4 foot back.
Right.
So the pressure of the water, there's a weak spot there. That blew that straight out. Oh, so happy that there's a coot out there. So happy to see that.
To find it, like, often you hear of new dug fisheries, and it is quite rare for them to hold water straight away. So to find it as quick as that, the issue where it was escaping, is a bit of a blessing, really, because some people spend a lot of money trying to dig through bunds and sort of reseal and all sorts. So that was a bit of a blessing.
Yeah, but typical George, he was early 70s. He said, "I'll go up onto the machine and track around. Now, I told you I got to keep the machine in. You might have a few," because he dug a few lakes down at Ringwood.
Right.
Back in the 70s. So, he just got the bucket in, smashed it all up, swung it round, went into the water, got all the real snotty, slimy stuff, fired it in there and bunged it. He said, "That'll be all right. That won't leak again now."
Yeah.
Of our fair share. But go back to the first day, when it was finished, or the first week, we had some rain, and I drove up on the quad, and I thought, what on earth is happening? Why isn't it filling up? So I crept in on my quad bike, went in about 6 foot into the bottom of the lake bed. All of a sudden, the tyres started sinking in. I thought, "Oh, Christ, it's filling up." I had to get out quick. Because if I got stuck, I had to make a phone call, because I was on my crutches. I left my crutches up at up on the bank. But it's good old memories when filling up. That was with that leak. Yeah. And when Mark Simmons brought the fish in that December, he messaged me about a month. I ordered the fish and I had a foot of water in the lake and I was panicking, but we had some more rain. It started filling up. I'd done a pH test and it was fine. And then the fish come in. So excited that day. It was just incredible feeling.
So this was the first winter after you dug the
that
lake?
was December, Mark Simmons brought in 15 C4s.
Okay.
And we put them in. And then he come in January and brought in 15 C5s and a couple of two 20-pounders. And that first summer, 2006, we lost about 7, and it was just one of those things. It was a bit heartbreaking. So I was scrolling through the Angling Times newspaper. Was it the Angling Times or the Angler's Mail? There was a chap selling some fish, some little small 1-pounders. I thought, so I phoned him up. I said, "I'm after some scaly fish," because most of the simmos were quite bland, short and deep. I said, well, on some scaly ones. He said, well, I got some little £1-pounders. I said, well, he said, what for your stocking? I said, well, it was 32. We've lost 7. So I want about another 30. He said, I'll bring some down for you. And he brought them down and he pulled up in a little car with a little trailer on the back with a little a big tank. I thought, has he got the bloody fish in there?
Yeah.
So he come to the water's edge. I was sat on the water's edge in my wheelchair, and he got them all out in a big gorilla bucket. He's just about to tip them in. I went, whoa, you can't, no. Oh, I said, this is my own private syndicate in developing the fish. I said, I'm on a photograph of both flanks.
Thank God you did.
He said, you're joking? I said, yeah. Oh, okay. So we got them on the mat and photographed them both flanks, and that was it. But it was unbelievable. When they went in that water, they were topping all around the lake.
Yeah.
They were so happy going into paradise. But we lost quite a few. When the otter got in 2008, he wiped quite a few out. And then we had to act fast in and put there's a fish blowing out there now on the corner.
For those that might not have realised, we're on the side of Carpenters Lake here, recording in one of your lodges, would you call it?
Yeah.
So the lake's just behind the cameras, so Neil's looking out there and see it. They could spawn today, couldn't they, as well? Because it's about that time of year.
It is about
up.
that time, yeah. They were grouping up a bit yesterday, but I've seen a couple of the big males. The big females. They were just on their own down in the reed beds. I think if they were done a spawn, they'd be having a couple of horny males up behind them by now, but not now.
So we just put the next batch in of 36 £1-pounders. Like nowadays, I think a lot of people listening, you think we put pounders into lakes now, you wouldn't get away with it with cormorants, but back then they weren't such an issue. I can remember when I started, I didn't even need cormorant nets across my ponds, but now you wouldn't get away with that. So thank God you took some pictures when they went in, because the fish behind the cameras now that are swimming around over 40 pounds, some of them.
Yeah,
it's great to have those pictures. So when those fish went in, how long before did you know when you were going to look at opening the syndicate and having anglers fish for them?
Yeah, we put the fish in. We let them buy for about a year, 18 months. We opened up in 2007. I cherry picked six anglers to fish on a syndicate, and that worked okay. But then I closed the syndicate around about 2000. We went private phone booking. We had the syndicate going for about 2 years. And then I thought, well, I'll do private phone bookings. I never ever want to be day ticket. Otherwise, I've got to be sitting up on the track in a little hut taking money. And that's not, so we done private phone bookings, and it was okay. But we had some idiots coming in, drinking and that. And it sort of done me head in a bit. So then I went back to a syndicate then in 2011, I think. Back then we only had eight members.
Right. Did the fish grow from the off? Could you see the potential immediately, or
it wasn't until when I got Andrew Ellis involved, after losing those first fish from Simo's, and then we put those £1-pounders in. I got Andrew's. I think he was advertising somewhere, A&E Fisheries, and I gave him a little ring, and he said. Yeah, I said, wants to put some more fish in. So he said, well, rudd and crusions do mix together well. So we put the rudd and crusions in and put some perch in. But the crusions were really exploding in there. And I noticed the gains on some of the fish was dropping a bit. So we got Andrew in, and we netted it through and got most crusions out. And the rudd as well. But since doing that, cropping every year, we could see the gains creeping up. And I think we produced our first 30 in about 2000. It took a while, our first 30 was probably about 2017 or 18.
Oh, right.
No, this cabin went up in 2018. I was fishing down here, and Lee was opposite in the middle swim across there. And I don't leave the rods out. I don't night fish anymore because of my disability. I always put my fish first, and my health as well, and health and safety. And I was just led on the bed, and I was seeing that there's a light on across there about 3 o'clock in the morning. I thought, well, he's either got out of his bivvy going for a pee, or he's got a fish on the end. So I could just make out the torch moving around. I could see a silhouette of the landing net. And I thought, oh, Lee's in. And within a couple of minutes, he phoned me up. He said, guess what? I said, what? You've got a 30. I said, you have? Really? Which one is it? He said, I think it's Maggie. Oh, right, excellent. And over that winter, he had 2 30s out. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, oh, this is looking good now for the future. And over the years, we just kept on cropping the fish, as you know, coming in with Andrew.
Yeah, I'd have been in the picture by now. I think it was...
I think I first met you 2013, 2014.
Yeah,
BP Millen's
right.
been going, what?
I just started. You were one of my first customers, I think, when I started making pellets. Yeah, I remember when I said to Andy, I'm looking at getting this pellet press, and he said about Carpenters Lake, he needs some grub in there, he'd buy it. So started chatting to you, and then here we were netting the lake, doing the same job as we do every year, cropping silvers. Thank God you did, because you imagine if you didn't net any silvers, like those fish would never be what they are now. Well, because the big silvers would just multiply, and the amount we've taken out over the years, and it's a clay water, always very fertile, and recruitment's good. So, and the tree work you've done recently, it's, as the lake matures, I think you've seen the challenges that come with fishery management, that you find the worse it gets with tree growth, the faster it gets worse. You've seen the rate of the growth of the crack willow and stuff, that you realise how you need to keep on top of that. But now we've got your first 30 in 2018, and slowly they've started to creep up, and your average would probably be around there now, wouldn't it?
Hang on, I think I got that wrong. I think my first 30 was Joey. That was two. Here's a story for you. That was Joey, was 32 £32. I'll have to check my records, but that's the time when I was so close to selling up.
Really?
Because, it really affected me, because going back, scratch the surface, I was a carp angler in the 80s. I never caught a 30. And I thought, well, I'll put a lot of time and expense in my water. I'll catch my first 30 in my lake. And I caught Joey in February 2016. And this is after we cropped. Everybody thought that's the biggest fish in the lake, Joey, at 32. He's reached his weight. And I thought, no, I'm not sure about that. But since cropping over those years, I caught it in February 2016 at 35.2. I thought, wow. I thought I've proved something here. They all thought, that's it. He's peaked. But no, he pushed on again. Big millfish. So then 4 weeks late, well, that winter, unbeknown to me, the otter was getting in again. Right. He was getting through. He didn't get through the electric strands we put around. He come up the overflow pipe. But what I know now, I shouldn't have done it, but we put some wire over the overflow, but I kept it up about 2 inches, so any debris could go through it and don't block it up.
Right.
Well, that little bugger got his nose up through that pipe, push, and he was lucky for him, the wire popped off the screws on the side, and he got in and wiped out 4 fish. About a week later, I had one of my long-term members, Glyn, in the swim. I was looking down the far end, and I said to Glyn, there's a dead fish down there. So he rolled his rods in and jumped in the boat and went and got it on the bank. I thought, oh my God. No. He said, what? I said, it's Joey. I said, it's not. I said, it is, it's Joey. I can see it straight away. But I looked at it and I thought, he don't look, there was no throat gone, there was no tail gone. So I thought I couldn't get it in my head and get the terms that this fish is probably died of natural causes. So I sent a couple of photographs over to Andrew Ellis, Mike Wilmot, Viv at VS Fisheries. And it was Viv, he said to me, zoom in on the fish now on the flank. So I zoomed in on the flank. I could see some scratch marks on the flank. And he said, look at the anal fin chewed. I said, oh God. But obviously he was because he's the biggest resident, he couldn't catch him or drag him up onto the bank. Obviously he just died of his wounds. I couldn't believe it. I said, that's it. I phoned Julie up. She said, what's the matter? I said, the lake record's dead. £35. I said, I can't take much more of this. I said, the bugger got him. I'm feeling up just thinking about it today. Back in 2008, he got in. Now the bastard's got in again. I thought, what are we going to do? So I sat in the cabin with a few members, and I said, well, we'll just have to go. I said, look, I'll get the materials if you want to give up your fishing time to put the fence round. And that's it then. We put the tornado fence round and the posts. It took about 3 weeks to put it round, but spread over about 5 or 6 days. Since then, getting that fence round, we've been okay, touch wood.
Yeah, I think there's so many fisheries though that would relate to that feeling of just being choked when you feel like you've got that. When they take you big and you think, oh no, it's the
it's more to me. I get emotional because the journey I've been on to achieve the lake, and but I was so close. I thought I'll set up and buy a place, buy a little villa in Spain or something. And sit on the beach and drink a pina colada.
Oh God, you didn't.
No, I didn't. But that was then. This is now.
Yeah.
And
so your big uns now. Did you see them at that time being? Where were they at that time when Joey was?
With Joey obviously gone. So I thought, well, we just got to move on, and that was in 2016, going back to when Lee caught the 230s 2 years later. I thought, well, it's going the right way now. Keep cropping, keep putting the food in. And then the first, I think it was 2 years ago, actually, the first 40 come out. And that was the fish Maggie. There she is up there on the picture there. That's Maggie. Mm. I caught her there at £35 in the winter.
Yeah, she's a sucker for the net, isn't she? That one comes out.
She's always in the nets. Yeah. Little bugger. But then...
Lovely fish there. Didn't see that.
But then look at Moonscale. It came out last week at 39. Moonscale's up there. I had her there. I had him there, her, sorry. I think she's 26 there, 27. Yeah. And that's a cracking fish, that is. That's one of the originals. Yeah. Oh, there's Joey, look. See the next one along there? Yeah, that's Joey. We've got Otter.
Yeah.
So I had it for all those years of carp fishing and caught me first 30. Joey at 35.
Interesting that these ones that went in at £1, the Maggie and Moonscale, that then...
Joey was a C5.
And that was a Simo, wasn't it?
17 pain.
So these pounders, they pushed on...
They've overtaken.
Yeah, mad.
Yeah.
I always say that they were stocking small, giving them time to adapt to their water. Well, as they're progressing at the fastest time of their lives at that size. If you can get them into their water, they're forever home back then. Yeah. They tend to just keep going.
But then there's the saddle there. Look. Yeah. That's me ever second 40. That's originals. That's a Simo. Yeah. People think, well, that's not a Simo. Yeah. That is one of the originals.
Yeah.
And,
wow. So then when was your first 40? It doesn't feel like too long ago when these...
April 2000.
Was it last year?
2003.
Okay.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was Glyn, one of my oldest, well, not being rude, but he's been a member 10 years. And I thought he caught a 40, Glyn. He fished Bradley's for a long, long time. I honestly thought he caught a 40 pounder. And I was down on the Saturday. Glyn was on his first night. And I was just having my sandwiches down home, and he sent me a photograph of his Fox Diggies, 4310. I thought, what? And Julie said, stop swearing. I said, I can't eat my sandwich. Why, what's happened? I said, it was 4310. There's no fish at around 4310. We're in the spring.
Right.
I thought, and I was trying to reel it off. I thought, what fish is it? Let me think. When Maggie come out last, when the saddle come out last. So I phoned Glenn straight away. He's 4310. I thought, right, give me 20 minutes. I'll jump on the quad and I'll be down. And went in his swim, looked into the net, and I thought, bloody hell! I said, you got the saddle there.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. But what happened? He was so excited, Glenn, bless him. Those scales, they zero back after if you're a bit long. If after a couple of minutes they go back to zero.
Right.
So obviously he still had to take the sling off.
Okay.
His sling. So I brought my Rubens up. We put it on the Wheel of Fortune, and it went £40 too.
just in
And
the...
Glyn said, it's definitely 40. I said, Glyn, it's over 40. It's definitely 40, mate. So I shook his hand and I couldn't believe it. So all those years, Glyn's never caught a 40, but I couldn't believe what happened 10 days later.
Yeah.
He phoned me up and said, could I come over and do a day session on a bank holiday Monday? I said, yeah, of course you go. There's only two on. Two's just pulling off after the long bank holiday weekend. And I come round to the cabin, making a cup of tea. He phones me up. I said, what have you got? He said, I've got another big one in the net. I said, you're joking, Glyn. I said, you had the first 48 last week. So I went round there and he had Maggie in the net. As soon as I seen it, as soon as I seen that left flank with that big scale, I thought, oh my gaze, Glyn, how long you been carp fishing? Now you've just had 2 40s in 10 days.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Couldn't believe it. That made up for that day when Joey popped up.
Yeah. So that's 2 years ago now. Where are we now to bring us up to date?
Well, they're still holding weight. The saddle always hold weight because it's a male fish. Maggie did come out during lockdown because that was bad times back then. People couldn't fish and anything. But when the restrictions got lifted, I reopened in May, and one of your members, Neil, had Maggie out at 38 pound. I thought, Christ, it was only it was 33 last time. I thought it was well spawned up, but it came out 6 weeks later. That was in May. Come out, and then in July spawned out at 33. I was so happy. Some of my members thought, "Oh, it's a shame it didn't go 40." I said, "Well, where have a healthy fish swimming away?"
Yeah.
You know, they all. I know it, I preached it in the last YouTube. I know it's a numbers game out there, but I'd rather any fishery owner rather have a healthy fish swimming away. And they couldn't believe it. He said, "What, £5 a spawn?" I said, "Yeah." Got rid of that. I said, "Look at her now. Look how strong and healthy she's looking." And so I do worry about Maggie because, but she's looking good. She came out 3 weeks ago actually for one of the new members at 41.5.
Yeah,
looking so good, really good.
Yeah, it's funny how fishery managers look at it differently to anglers. That you're happy to see that healthy fluctuation in weight at the right times of year. But do you feel now with the stock that you've got, the pressure of you've always got otters around the outside of the fence, and do you feel the pressure and do you get anxious about the threats on those fish and the future of the fishery? It must you'd have thought it'd be more exciting the bigger the fish get, but it's almost like the more pressure is on you to keep things and protect this what you've made now.
See, anglers just rock up and they don't get it, the fishery side of it. There's so much involved. And the best bit of kit I got is what Andrew has told me to go and get, is that handy pleurisate there. That's such a good bit of kit.
That's an oxygen meter, so it tests dissolved oxygen for those that
that's good.
Yeah, but it's one of them that the oxygen meters, you find once you've got one and you're testing, you almost become more stressed because you know what you're looking out for. And when oxygen's a little bit up or down, you worry. When you get a tool at that, a lot of people, I get phone calls a lot when I sell somebody an oxygen meter that they ring up and say, "Oh no, I'm panicking about this. The oxygen's not quite right. It was up today, down tomorrow." And you do get that. The more you test and the more you know the things that you have to worry about. So it's a bit of a battle with that. But yeah, you've done all the right things all the way along. But with your disability, how do you find managing a fishery with a disability? How do you get around everything and keep it all in check?
Well, I do as much as I can. I've obviously got to crack the whip and bark orders from the quad for some of you. All my members, they know they got to help out on work parties. And it is hard sometimes because there's so much manual work to do around this place. But I got good members now. I was always willing to help. But you always got to ask all the time. And I think I've brought that into it from my disability, because going back to when I was paralysed, I used to be let in bed for 4 or 5 hours, and the nurses used to come up to me. You got to buzz. If you want something, just buzz us. So, and I sort of, if you don't ask, you won't get things. I know Andrew Ellis. So, he's barking orders all the time. In my old age, but that's how I get through with asking me members to do jobs and that.
Yeah.
The working at it. I go around and get on my sit-on mower. I can get on that, just about drive that. And I get a lot of satisfaction from that. Some of my members said, "Oh, I can drive that." I said, "Well, you can." I said, "But I can't walk along there with a strimmer. So I'd rather come behind you on the sit-on."
Yeah.
And get distracted all the time. You're driving around the banks and, oh, there's a couple of fish down there. Look, I haven't seen that one before.
That's another thing we haven't spoken about, is the ones that go missing for so long in such a small water. And you think they've not really got anywhere to hide. You can creep around the banks here, and I know I get excited messages from you through the summer when you see fish basking. You spot one that perhaps you haven't seen for years or hasn't been caught for years, and that just makes you feel alive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Makes you.
I absolutely love it when they start spawning. I cannot get my ass down here quick enough. Then I'll stay down here most of the day, and I'll even stay in the cabin overnight with Judy coming down and give me a hand with bits and pieces and food and that. And because I just identify, and in recent years, I bought a drone and I send that up and hover over across. I thought, there's the big ghosty down there. Look, you can see the big old males come up behind the side of her, and
almost like a pervert, really.
Is there? Yeah.
You sent me some good footage there. I'd love you if you still have it, when the carp are spawning and there's the rudd that come in as a shoal afterwards. That'd be really. I don't know if you still have it, but
I think I might. I did send it to you. I know we go on about the rudd, where we got to keep cropping and cropping and cropping, but we don't get many carp come through the nets.
No.
I think it's down to those rudd. I proved it on that occasion. Yeah. I sent it. I was sat here in the doorway on my wheelchair. I sent the drone up, and I seen 7 fish come towards me. So I'm trying to look at them with my naked eye and trying to fly it off my little iPhone. Yeah. And I followed them. I followed them into this snag bush, and oh my God, I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. As soon as they spawn, the rudd just shot out underneath the pads, straight onto those eggs. Yeah, straight onto those eggs.
Was eye-opening for me. It's the theory that it happens, but to actually see it happen, that was awesome. I know you have, aside from carp, you have some perch. Did you put the perch in?
We put the perch in, 2006, and we got perch at probably about 2.5 pounds, but we don't get so many now, because when we've had little rudd competitions here in the summer months with some family and some nephews and that, not catching so many perch. So I think I might have to look into that this winter, get some more perch in.
So there's a lot of fisheries we get asked a lot about stocking perch and to self-control the populations. Well, Andy's job is obviously to provide a service in controlling the recruitment of perhaps a silverfish or bream and species like that. But especially in clay waters that are very fertile, and recruitment is always very good, like you've got here. What would you have to say about stock and perch? What's your experience been? Have they contributed to keeping the numbers down, do you think?
They have. Especially in the colder months. I see them hunting, chasing the rudd, swirling around. But got a little rod out there now with a little rubber jig on, and it's quite. I come up here in the winter months, just put it out for a couple of hours, and I think Rob turned up one winter and he was doing drop shotting. Yeah, and he went over the other side, and I had some perch out, nothing big, about a pound back then, but then I had a monster followed that thing in one afternoon. Really? Couldn't believe it. I'd seen him follow it in. I thought he's down underneath the jetty, so I was going like this, and brought it right in. He snatched it. I thought, Christ, my heart was right in massive great mouth like that. My heart was in my mouth. And that was touching up to about £3.
Really?
And that must be one of the old perch, because they don't live very long, perch, do they?
They're funny. Look, you find places where some places they recruit really well and never get big, and other places it's almost like a generational thing almost. Like the first generation sometimes become big fish and then they die off and then nothing happens with the
that one that spooked me, took my little lure or my little jig. He popped that dead the following spring. A member's over there, he said, there's a dead perch right now. I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, could you get out for me to spoon it? He said, it was quite big. So he went and got it, brought it back. And as he marched along the bank, I thought, that's a big perch. We weighed it, and it's £3.4.
Yeah, they're awesome at that size. We always get loads more interest with pictures of big perch than we do with big carp.
Yeah, but you don't get the stripes like you get in the river, do you?
Not in a clay water.
Not in a clay water, no.
No.
But yeah, good old perch. I think that was my first fish. I think back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Was a wee lad, or was it a gudgeon? Probably a gudgeon, I expect.
Yeah.
That was in a jam jar. You used to put a jam jar at the flow of the river, didn't you? And put the bread in.
Yeah,
A bit of rope. Got one.
Yeah.
Couldn't afford a rod back in those days.
So what, with a small water like this, what made you want to be a syndicate? It would obviously lend itself to like booking style exclusivity, sort of exclusive model, or Airbnb style fishing in lovely like cabins like this. What made you want to go down the route of having a syndicate of the small numbers of members that you've got?
Well, because at the end of the day, we're like one big family here. Every member gets on well with each other. Yeah, I looked in on the business side, but I didn't want the stress of it all.
No.
I got the stress dealing with my disability.
Yeah.
And like I said, I vet all my anglers. They're like family. I cannot sit down home worrying about what's happening down here. So by having a syndicate,
Yeah.
it's working well. It's taken a while.
I know from speaking to you the last 10 years, this is almost basically an extension of your garden and your fish, your pets, aren't they? So
I think a lot of people are realising that now. It is my back garden. Coming down, if I get setbacks with disability, if I can't get down here touch base during lockdown, the whole country's in lockdown. I pinched a nerve in my spinal cord and I was led up for about 10 days in bed. Rob Hughes was coming over and looking after it for me, and Judy's coming down and sending me photographs, and I couldn't wait to get that. What a difference, bear in mind we're talking middle of April, early May, when it's all started greening up with the spring. I love the spring. Spring is the best time of the year. And I couldn't wait to get my ass down there after 10 days. What a difference that was. That was a real... So you get used to it, but when you've been... It's like if I go on holiday and I've been away like for a week, 10 days, I just can't wait to get back down here and see what's happening. And
your membership now, how many members do you say you have now?
We got 16 members.
And I know it's quite a strict application and very... With a lot of syndicates that are run like this as an extension of their garden, like we said, being very private. What do you look for in a member that is looking to apply to get onto your syndicate, which is always a very difficult topic, isn't it? Because you have to be quite protective over what you have and find the right members to fit what you're trying to do and where you're trying to get to. It has to be a perfect fit, otherwise people fall out and nobody wants. It's not enjoyable for anyone. So what do you look for in a member the candidate for your fishery?
The member I'm looking for, I'm not after the ones which are just coming in. They want to catch the biggest fish in the lake. So it's a notch on his belt. That don't interest me.
No.
I want the member to appreciate what I've achieved here, what I'm going through, and just appreciate the old school carping. It's not about the biggest fish in the lake. It's about the mystery fish, the fish that haven't been out for 3 or 4 years. And I think that's what rocks the boat for a lot of my members. Yeah. And they appreciate it when they pay their syndicate money, they get the code to the gates, and then they're coming into my back garden, what's a bit of my paradise, and they've got to respect that. And
that was probably one of the biggest things that I realised because as an angler, you want to know what you're fishing for, but when a fishery owner, you have fish, when people ask that, when their only interest is in your fish and what you've got, and so that's their first question is, what's your biggest fish? It's almost like they're asking how much money you've got in your bank. You're not asking how you got it or what you've done, your past or your story. They just want to know the figures. And it's not very palatable as a fishery owner, is it? It's not what you want.
This is not a joke. Go back 10 years ago, I used to get texts like, I got a 42-inch landing net. I've been to France and caught a 50. I went, well, yeah, okay. But you need to put it, it just makes me chuckle now.
Yeah, what they think you want is not what you're looking for, is it? When they think you want to hear that they've caught big fish or they're sponsored and this, that and the other.
No, I'm pretty good at sussing anglers.
Yeah. And do you find that the members join for what it is, or do they catch the fish they want and move on? Or
I think they're just enjoying a bit of peace and quiet.
Yeah. That's exactly. I just said before we got set up how rare it is now to come somewhere where you can't hear a road or beeping horns of traffic,
and you're not hearing alarms going off.
No.
Sat around a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
I take a leaf out of Nash, Kevin Nash. Alarm should only go off when you got a fish on the end.
Yeah. And like what it is now, how quickly it's matured, like they always do with these rich sort of clay soils, that you wouldn't know that it's a man-made fishery now, like how quickly it's all sprung up. I know in recent years you've started to realise how important it is to keep on top of that. And just recently, one of the islands here, which we sort of highlighted in the video on YouTube, that like I sort of said earlier, that the worse it gets, the quicker it gets worse with the growth of trees. And the work you've done on that island, if you carried on with that around the fishery, which I'm sure that the other island, which is how it used to look, the amount of light that comes in now, and how for me, I find that so exciting, how that's then going to be your next phase of the development of the fishery. Because if you left it, and that growth gets up, it really compromises the progression of everything, and things are going to start to slow down. But seeing you proactively do that with, I know you've got Lee who helps you out. He's been quite a big part of the syndicate, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's a massive involvement in the lake. Lee, I've known Lee all his life, since he was in nappies. I did take him. Another story. I took him over Shearwater when he was about 12, and I set he showed me all his rigs and that, and then he got these smelly old bloody baits out. I went, you won't catch nothing on there, mate. It's nothing. They've been in that pot about bloody 2 years, and he caught an 18-pounder. And he goes on about it now these days. That was a smelly. Well, it's just rubbish. Wouldn't even give that to me dog. I said, I'll put that on there, and I always remember that day. He does laugh about that. We do get on well together, Lee.
Yeah.
And it's good to have him on board, because we can share stories, and sometimes there's issues with members and that, and it's good to open up and have him on my shoulder.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what I sort of like to... anglers that look for this, is a lot of people would... This is in demand, fisheries like this, syndicates that are quiet like this. But to find waters like this, if you want to find waters like this, you need to be an asset to the syndicate owner, like Lee is to you. He's a landscaper, he's got the tools, he's keen to help, and he's on a voluntary role, will come in and help out. And you think that's how you find opportunities like this. You'd be helpful and an asset to the membership. And that Lee's a great example of that. So anyone listening as an angler that thinks, how do you find waters like this? We need to be an asset, not a liability to someone like Neil. We need to help out and be keen.
We've got another member, Darren Foster, he lives in Frome. I met him in 2010. He phoned me up and he heard about the lake. What a sales pitch. I was down in the day swim, and he come along the bank. I knew he was coming over about 6 o'clock. I said, well, I'm fishing tonight on my own, look, just with one rod down the edge. He walked along the bank and hooked into a fish. He helped me play, I was playing it. He helped me land it. That was Joey at 29 £29. Yeah. And we were chatting away, and I felt comfortable with Darren, and he come in on a couple of guesties, and he's been on the syndicate best part of 12 years, 13 years now. So he's a good asset. He's someone I can, because Lee lives like half an hour away. Darren's only 15 minutes away. I've got other members in for him, like Glyn as well. They know I could phone them up, and if I get issues or a problem, then they could be here. And that's good.
Yeah, these are the ones you want.
Yeah. I've got friends in the village. Yeah. With my disability now, if anything over £20, I've got a job to lift it out now. Yeah. Because obviously with disabilities getting a bit worse now. I'm sat in a wheelchair. People don't really take that on board. I'm not bragging, but my fish are too big now for me to lift out. Yeah. I got a neighbour in Curtis who just lives at the top of the hill there. I called him in one afternoon. He's like, because he works from home since lockdown. I said, I got a good fish in the net. All right, fish? I said, yeah. Do you want to come down and give me a hand? All right, give me 10 minutes. I'll be there. Yeah. He came rocking down. The fish was boiling he was in the net. And I said, right, Curtis, put the mat there, He lifted it out, just about to put the net on the decking. I went, whoa, can't do that. Put it back in the water a minute. Oh, what? I said, you got to put it from there straight into the sling, straight into the cradle. And then keep the water on there and he said, you are fussy. I said, well, yeah, these fish have taken like 18, 19 years of my life to get where they are now. I said, to go and replace that fish now is about £3,000. But he's not a fisherman. He didn't,
No.
and I got the fish up, and he got his camera out, and he was clicking away. I had about 30 photographs. I had one I was like that, and the hat, and I had sort of that, and the tail was missing. I thought I had to sort of cherry pick 2 out of 30.
Yeah. Stitch them all together.
But yeah, weighed that fish up. I think I was a 29 common, I think I had, when he done the pictures.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always somebody around I can make a phone call on, and if we get any problems here.
Yeah. And when we did the YouTube video, I know what I'd edited the video together. It's one of my favourite videos I've ever produced, because it had everything in there, with the story and the quick interview before we got interrupted, and some of the fish that we caught in the net, which we never catch them all. There's always that mystery of what else is there that we're missing, and we always catch the same fish, but fish get caught throughout the year that don't come up in the nets, and there's always that excitement there every time we come of what we're going to net.
Yeah.
And I know I put this video together, spent a lot of time editing it, and finished it off ready to put on YouTube, and I had a phone call from Neil, and quite choked up. He felt like there's somebody else in this story that we've not mentioned, and there's been a big part of Neil getting the fishery to where it is today, and that's Julie, that your wife. And I know it might be quite difficult for you to talk about, but I know Julie's been there right from the beginning. You said you met at a very young age. From how your first words to Julie when before we started the podcast, Neil told me his first words to Julie, and I'll let Neil take it from there.
Well, I met Julie in a village called, we were building a bungalow in Carpenters Lake, and I sort of ironed up Julie the whole summer, and we were working on the roof and that, and she used to sort of come by on her horse, and I used to shout out "Lucky Saddle" and stuff like that, like you do, typical builders. And used to wolf whistle. We're not allowed to wolf whistle there.
No,
back in the 80s, you can. I thought, I wonder where she lives. She can't be local, walking, got the horse and that. And after a couple of months, I was just walking my dog down the country lane, and I could hear. I thought, hey, is it Julie, or is it the other big bird on her big horse? So no, she come up. She was smiling away, and I was smiling at her. And we were chatting for about an hour, and the chemistry was there, Ben.
This was pre-crash, wasn't it? Before the accident.
Yeah, 1984. This was. The chemistry was there, and took her out those couple of weekends, and that's when you could go out and have a pint of beer for like £1.50. Not now, but yeah, she's been my rock. We went out of her. We got engaged, court for 3 years, got engaged for 2 years, and then we got married. We done it right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And got married in 1989, and got 3 kids now. Charnel, Miles and Fraser. They all under the age of 7 when I had my accident. But, I'm still here now, and watching them grow up.
But it's like, for me, it's how the vast change in your life from being so active, a marathon runner, someone with your own business, wasn't it, with your carpentry? You're self-employed with what you did.
I was self-employed when I had my accident. Working with my late father, with my brothers. Then he passed away. I lost my dad when I was age 21. Julie only knew me dad for 3 months. He had a massive heart attack. Yeah, he just dropped dead in front of me, and so I had to deal with that at a very young age, and got through it. And and I went self-employed, chipping, and I do I miss the building industry? I don't think I do now. Not because what we got here now, but it's so changed now, health and safety, and I'm glad I'm away from it now. Yeah,
but for you to that huge change and shift to being in a wheelchair, and that the disability and the restrictions that's put on you, and how that you've had to change from being a marathon runner and very active lifestyle, and how you met Julie before and you're changed to now, it says something about your personality to keep somebody there to support you through that.
Yeah, she is my rock. She's the only one that knows what I go through, big time. She knows me down. I'm getting filled up now, but sorry, babe.
You're right.
Yeah, only she knows what I go through. She knows the lake keeps me going big time, massively. And that is why I'm so trying to put it in the words. That's why I'm so choosy for what members come in here and fish.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she knows. She knows I love it down here.
Yeah, I can hear it when we speak on WhatsApp. When you have those tough times when the disability gets you down, you can hear it in your voice, and you know this is part of your life that brings you back and sort of calibrates you to you have a purpose here in what you do, and what you've done is a huge sort of what you've done here to Carpenters is a credit to you, what you've achieved, and you haven't done it. It's like you realised that it's something that you're not familiar with. You've got Andrew in to help and advise, and what you've done with that is a huge credit to you. And I think what Julie there to support you through all that. I know when we come up netting, she's here with the food and the drinks. And,
I love her to the moon and back. Really love her, and she knows this place keeps me going. Keeps me going mentally, big time.
Yeah.
Like as we all know, fishing is to be outside in the fresh air, up close to nature. It's really it's good for your mental health.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just like we said before we started the podcast, what you could have done with when you had the accident and how it could have been different. You could have put your money in something else, and would that have given you the sense of purpose that the fishery's given you, and given you somewhere to go, and given you jobs and a purpose to help steer this fishery in the right direction? And that managing a fishery was probably the best thing. I think the best investment you could have made with what you had there, because it's so impressive. Seeing it for myself when I first met you, and
look at that picture there. Look, that was taken in 2007. That was the week we opened it. It went in the local papers. But you can see that's the old sign, but you can see the island in the background. It's just two islands, nothing planted up.
No, it could have quite easily been a lake full of doubles if you'd have done nothing.
Well, exactly. But when I fished Edenvale at Westbury back in the 80s, I sort of planned it around that, because I had good memories of the island and the trees overhanging, and you got to get tight to that island and get under that bush to get that fish out. But yeah, it's been a long journey, massive part of my life. Would I change it? No. Would I change this, the way I dug this lake out? I think I would. I think because we got the two islands, we got ropes in between. That's been a grey area. When we were private phone bookings, I had some anglers in, and I said, where's your baits to? Oh, just off those pads in between the island. I said, well, technically you are snag fishing.
Yeah.
And because I looked straight down at their bobbins were on the deck, and I thought, they're slack lining. I said, I get problems there. So that's why we decided to put the ropes through. I think every lake needs a bit of a sanctuary for the fish to go to.
Yeah, it is difficult advising fisheries on creating a healthy environment for fish, and actually what the anglers want as well, because you can quite easily create something which anglers don't want to fish, a quite barren landscape, although it might be great for the progression of the fish. Sometimes, like we're saying here with dropping the trees and opening things up, a lot of anglers don't like that. They like everything being quite overgrown and natural, but actually if you want the fish to get to what they've got to now, there has to be a compromise in the environment that you create for them. And that's, I think, where I find we get a lot of, not a hate, but a little bit of pushback from anglers when we advise fisheries to take out snags, to maximise light and air, drop trees, any shade casting trees, open things up. I think you can understand where anglers are coming from, but from a fishery manager's point of view, you want those fish to be progressing so that you can create a high value opportunity like you've got here, where you've got as many members as you want or need, and there's no pressure on you to think, although when we say about that, we are sort of talking about a handful of big fish, and that can quite quickly change, particularly in a clay environment with an algae sort of system. Without, you can have those fluctuations in oxygen, and you need to be on it, and like you are with your oxygen readings and things what you've created can quite quickly be reversed with the loss of a few big fish.
Well,
but knowing you've created an environment where fish progress so quickly, you know that actually it wouldn't take long to get younger fish to do the same.
Yeah, it can all go tits up overnight when you're dealing with nature. Very quickly, 3 years ago, I noticed in the spring, I noticed the tinge of the water is like a bit browny colour. I thought, what's going on there? So I sent the drone up. I couldn't believe it, Ben. It was like somebody's put gravy in it. We had a brown algae bloom.
Yeah.
Seriously, brown algae bloom. Yeah. So I started taking readings, and it got to sort of June time. I noticed the oxygen was dropping big time. Seriously dropping. So I gave Tony Campbell a quick ring. I had a little chat to Tony, and I had to act fast. And of course, with my disability, I can't suddenly get the generator out of the container and get the aerator. So I've got to make a phone call to Darren and Froome and Lee, and we got the aerator. We were very close to having oxygen. As you well know, that brown algae was dying off. The bacteria was having it, and the bacteria has oxygen. So we want for that handy pleurisate there. We would have lost a few fish.
Yeah.
And that was the... Since that day, I only used to use the anti-pleuris leading up to spawning and when you've seen signs and that. But since that day, I use it even more now. But then going back to the red issue, it's like a coal miner, when he goes down the coal mine with a canary in a cage, you get a problem.
Yeah.
One reason we got those rudd in. Now, I've seen those rudd, and I thought they don't look they're not active. They look a bit lethargic. So I had some flake maize in here from the feed, and I was chucking that out. Normally, they didn't want to know. And I thought there's something. That's when I thought there's a problem happening here.
Yeah.
I put the oxygen meter in. I could see it dropping every other day. Of oh bloody hell!
Right.
So we had to get that going, and that's one issue. That's one issue we got over.
Yeah, I think with because it's just down the road from you. Nowadays, like with the development of fisheries and all the technology and fishery development, adapting to the changes in technology, you could almost think that fisheries are quite easy to run without being there, having the automated oxygen aerators and stuff. But it's really not like that yet. Being with like you in the village, being able to see the water every day, any changes you can test and you can adapt quite quickly. But if you're not seeing that water every day, you might not see the changes. So it's really important.
I do see it, the clarity of the water. I do see it change.
That's the first thing that I'll do, seeing my ponds every day. As soon as you notice something different, you always test and investigate, and that's how you pick up on things really quickly. And people were worried that fishery managers are going to start to rely on technology more than you should. So you can never fail your eyes and trust your experience. So anyway, we're sort of wrapping up now, Neil. Well, thank you so much for letting us come down and record here today. Fine. It's such a very unique story and we
have a laugh, don't we?
We do. Most days I'll get most weeks I'll have a message from Neil, some more appropriate than others. But yeah, great to be in touch, and thank you for inviting us down to record here at Carpenters Lake. And well done on all that you've done. I know it's been a hard conversations with some of the story and the ups and downs you've had in your life, and the people that have been around you to support you through all of that. So thank you for having us.
Welcome. Yeah, where dreams come true.
That's Neil Carpenter's tagline. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you very much, Ben. Pleasure.